So when I went in there to help the executive director get rid of the person, she like kind of went off the rails and was like, I'm not going down for all the things you did and you're a thief. And I mean, she just kind of kept spouting off. However, that happens a lot in terminations. So I kind of just brushed it aside. But as I got more in there, like red flag after red flag started happening. And then the executive director ended up having to take a very interesting medical leave. So myself and our finance group went in there and discovered that he had been stealing mass amounts of money. I think it ended up being after we did all the audits and all, the forensic audits, the cleanup, it was like $3.5 million. Yeah. So he had, from our government, by the way, from a local government, all tax dollars. He hadn't even been paying the IRS the payroll taxes that he was taking it out of the employees' checks and never paying it. So we owed so much money to the IRS.
Which single trend do you think has had the most impact on the way you work in the last few years? The last decade, the last few years in particular, we've seen some massive changes in the workplace, the way we work, where we work, how we work. And we hear a lot about things like COVID and the Great Resignation and remote work. But one aspect that is quite interesting and also quite often overlooked is the generational shift in the workplace. One of the dangers of this, of course, is that we make sweeping generalizations and put everyone in the same box just based on how old they are, which, of course, is a pretty dangerous road to go down. And even some of the words we use to describe these generations can be quite pejorative. Boomer, for example, millennial itself has become a bit of an insult in certain circles. But not everyone in those older generations struggles with technology. Not all millennials are lazy and entitled, nor are they quiet quitting necessarily. Not everyone in Gen Z or Gen Z is changing job every year or every 2 years. I guess the generations after that, whatever they're called, haven't entered the workplace yet, but we'll see what trends get associated with them soon enough. So my guest today is Katie Howard. She has over 20 years of professional HR experience. Like me, she's been in the workforce for several of these generational changes. She's worked in multiple leadership and consultative roles, and her work's really spanned a whole variety of employment sectors as well, including government, healthcare, and professional private organizations. And we're going to be talking about several HR matters. We're going to hear some of the crazy stories, the wild stories that Katie's got from her career. We're going to talk about this generational issue as well, and how leaders need to be aware of it and the impact it should and could have on their leadership too. Hopefully it's going to be quite an enlightening discussion. It's a topic we've not really covered before, so I'm quite excited to get into it. So without any further waffle from me, let's get Katie on the show.
Welcome to the Leading with Integrity podcast. Leadership talk for the modern manager. With your host, David Hatch.
Katie, welcome to Leading with Integrity. Great to have you on the show. Really looking forward to getting into our conversation today about HR and leadership and all things related.
I'm very excited. Very, very excited to be here.
Good. And let's kick off then. You have control, take over. Tell the listeners a bit about yourself, what you do, your career history, anything else you'd like to share, and we'll get you out of bed in the morning, really.
Sure. So, I'm Katie Howard. I am a professionally certified HR, person here in the United States. I have a 22-year long career, which ages me, makes me really old. But, I've done everything from consultative, which I'm a consultant now, but I also did some C-suite, for a large hospital system and then for a local government as well. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I'm not super experienced in unions. I've dabbled in them a little bit. I am certified also to do employee relations investigations. So like workplace investigations about harassment, discrimination, bullying, all those wonderful things that happen in the workplace. I've been at James Moore, which by trade is a CPA firm, but they started an advisory services side. I just celebrated my 3rd year with them. So that's been super fun. I have a great team and a great president, Julie Knisley and Kelly Green and Danielle. They're an amazing team. And what we do is we work with any size business and help them get on track with their HR or be their HR team. A lot of our small businesses can't afford an HR director because it gets pretty pricey. So it's like a timeshare HR model. So they kind of have to share us and it's fractional with other companies, but we help them with compliance, strategic initiatives, shopping for insurance for their employees, all those fun things that aren't really fun. And that's what I'm doing now. I do about 80% selling what we do now and about 20% actually doing it. So my team is kind of doing more with the client relations than I am anymore, but do a lot of speaking, do a lot of podcasts with awesome people like you. And that's pretty much it. I do on a personal side, I am recently been engaged. Yay. And, I have between the two of us, we're like the Brady Bunch. We have 4 daughters ranging from 22 to 9 and I have 4 chickens.
Okay,
so that's pretty much about me.
Number.
Yes. 4 is my lucky number.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on the engagement as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a very big shock. I was actually surprised. We had been together a long time. Yeah, I was not. Okay. I was very surprised. So it was.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it was good. He's keeping it. Good. He's keeping it lively. I like it. Mixing it up.
Yeah. Keeping you guessing. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dive in straight away to the perhaps most difficult question that you may not want to answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What is your craziest, your wildest employee story from all your time in HR?
Well, I first of all, I never, ever, ever say I've seen it all because what people do in the workplace is I wouldn't even do in my home. And I've had a lot of crazy things during my hospital time. There was a lot of, I jokingly say sex, drugs, and rock and roll. People, lots of affairs, lots of people stealing pills and drugs from patients. So I can actually identify a lot of pills, just for having to do audits and doing pill counts and going through at the pharmacy when there was alleged theft. Probably my longest, most drawn out, craziest one was when I was with the local government. We had like a Parks and Rec who was also kind of a separate entity of a local government. So they weren't necessarily under our umbrella, but they ended up doing a contract with us for us to do their HR. And that was also going to eliminate a position of their HR person because they really didn't need a full-time HR person. And she made a lot of money, which kind of was a red flag anyway. So when I went in there to help the executive director get rid of the person, she like kind of went off the rails and was like, I'm not going down for all the things you did and you're a thief. And I mean, she just kind of kept spouting off. However, that happens a lot in terminations. So I kind of just brushed it aside. But as I got more in there, like red flag after red flag started happening. And then the executive director ended up having to take a very interesting medical leave. So myself and our finance group went in there and discovered that he had been stealing mass amounts of money. I think it ended up being after we did all the audits and all, the forensic audits, the cleanup, it was like $3.5 million. Yeah. So he had, from our government, by the way, from a local government, all tax dollars. He hadn't even been paying the IRS the payroll taxes that he was taking it out of the employees' checks and never paying it. So we owed so much money to the IRS. We found out now again, in the United States, you cannot give government workers cash. He was giving them cash. I had to have meetings with them. Stop giving them, don't take cash anymore. That's not good. For like our own CFO for the county, his wife, because it turned out they were in on it. Everybody was getting their pockets padded. Like 4 people lost their jobs and or ended up in jail. And the CFO, the thing that bothered me the most, he was probably the closest person I was with at the county, and I was devastated. I would have never believed. And then they just provided me all the evidence, and I was like, yeah, okay, they did know, and they did do this. So that took over a year to uncover all that. So that was probably the wildest one, because it was just he bought classic car parts, $50,000 in McDonald's. Just real bizarre stuff. Wow. And the craziest part was there was a disappointment level to the board, because he's supposed to provide an audit every year, and they never made him do it. So that would have been caught years ago, but nobody ever made him mandated his audit as he's supposed to do. And so it all happened. Yeah. So that was the craziest. Yeah.
Okay. So the allegations and the kind of defending the job at the beginning were probably true then. Oh,
no, because she knew what he was doing. She was in on it, and she was getting paid a high salary to shut her mouth. That's what it all turned out. And she, interestingly enough, she kind of started to come forward, like kind of poking back. And I was like, you're under investigation now too, because we're pretty sure you knew everything. And she got real quiet. I was like, you probably don't poke that bear. You're going to get something you don't want to find out about. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess a lot of people though in that situation, it's like, well, if I'm losing my job, I'm taking all of you down with me.
Yeah. And that's so interesting you bring that up. Typically, now this was in a different case, but whenever, I counsel someone or I've terminated someone and they start, usually if I counsel someone, not even terminated yet, I know they're going to get terminated, because if you're counseling someone and they're accountable and they're embarrassed, you'll probably never see them again, because people are human and they do make mistakes. But if they're like, oh yeah, well, Susie's doing this and Johnny's doing this, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to fire you one day because you just can't control yourself. I already know. So, and it's very difficult to get fired. You have, unless you've done something really egregious like theft or murder, your file here has to be like this thick to get rid of people anymore. So
is that particular to government jobs or just generally?
More so to government jobs, but just honestly, if you're over a certain employee count, in the United States, specifically 50 is kind of the magic number that all the HR laws apply. You've got to really do your due diligence every time. Even in a lot of states are called right to fire, right to hire. It's at will states, which makes employers falsely believe they can just fire anybody for anything because they just don't like them. This is not the case. So I have to teach my clients, no. You still need a document trail. We got to be careful of this. So yeah.
Well, that's interesting because from the outside, we hear quite a lot about this, the at-will employment kind of rules that you guys have in the state. So it's not actually at will then. There is still a process behind it.
It's about as real as a unicorn.
Right.
Yes, you can actually do it, but you're still exposing yourself to, because anybody can sue anybody. And they will. I don't know how it is there, but they're very sue happy here. Every little thing is usually a lawsuit. So if you want to stay out of litigation, you better have a document trail as to why you're doing what you're doing, just for your own protection.
Yeah, people aren't quite as litigious here, but I think it's more because we tend to see it as a cost and we can't afford it, and the company probably can. So it's not worth it.
Yeah. So here in the United States, for most of our government entities, from unemployment to equal opportunity commission, their instant thought is employer is guilty. You actually have to prove they side with the employee instantaneously. So it's actually more work on the employer to prove otherwise.
I want to believe that's a good thing and that's the right way to lean, but I don't know. I mean,
I struggle with it. I think the intent was there to be good. I really do. I do think that there are some corporate machines that are horrible. And corporate America is greedy. It is dirty. It is, however, corporate America only represents about a small fraction of the United States, and majority of our businesses are small businesses who are clueless and have no ill will intent. And so that's the people who are getting penalized in all this, is that they just are trying to run their shop and do what they do. And it's, 50 to 150 employees, and they don't know any better. And they have no ill will to anyone. And somebody knows that and takes it. There's too many people that have used it as an opportunity to take advantage.
Yeah, I guess that's human nature, isn't it? It's unavoidable to an extent. Probably broadly the same here. And probably the main difference is that the companies who are, let's say, bad as a generic word, they're just going to do what they want anyway, regardless of the law. Another one that's interesting is, you mentioned corporate America. It's pretty similar here, to be honest. The big corporates, they're probably the same companies, aren't they? Because they're all multinationals now.
Yeah.
But 99.7 or 8 or 9% of the companies in this country are small businesses.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I forget what the actual number is, and I should know it, but
it's probably about the same, I'd guess.
Yeah, it's got to be really. I think it was definitely in the 90s. And again, and that's what the glue, and we had, and that's my client base is, you're smaller, and I say smaller, not these multi-gajillion dollar own the world companies. It's these, smaller groups. And again, a lot of times you think they have things put in place to protect themselves, and they legitimately don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And we have things like insurance to protect them. It's called employer liability insurance. So you actually insure yourself in case something happens. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to settle out every time. So, and employees know that. They know that there's these carriers and that it won't end up in court, and they'll get a check 9 times out of 10 because it's cheaper to do that than hire attorneys.
Yeah, which I guess is bad from both perspectives, isn't it? Because it allows people to play the system, but also it probably means that people with legitimate grievances are feeling pressured to take a settlement that's probably a lot less than they deserve. Yeah,
it's total double-edged sword, completely. Yeah. Because you will see a lot of times if a case comes out and someone's filed it, they of course, love to go on social media and talk about what they've made. And then you will see with a lot of times within that same organization, suddenly more things are filed. So it's like a chain effect. And it's all because, I want a piece of that pie. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that once you set the precedent, you're kind of stuck, aren't you? You can't say no to the next one because you've already.
Well, it's funny because I like to talk to my clients because I'm a really visual learner. So I always talk about my pie and how big, and the bigger the piece, the more exposure you're going to take. And we want to keep our, pieces very skinny. So if you're taking a half a pie of exposure, that's a big no-no. Let's not eat a half a pie. Let's stay on our diet slice. And, that seems to work. And I'm like, there was a time I was like, you're eating the whole pie. This is so grossly, you're exposing yourself. I'm just going to let you know, you're going to get sued. Don't do that. And whether or not they took my advice, I don't know, but it was a really bad incident. They were not making smart decisions at all. Yeah. And he was kind of a pig on top of it, quite honestly.
Yeah. It's funny how those things often go together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always funny to me because yes, majority of my business owners are super smart, super charismatic, all the things. And then you'll meet one and you're like, how? And they're a gajillionaire off of making a widget. And I'm like, how did you stumble upon this? You're not a great person. You're not real smart. And you just made a widget and now you have more money than God. How does this happen?
Yeah, it's probably not worth thinking about that too much.
No, I know.
Interestingly, that's not the first story I've heard about someone stealing from a government agency even in the last couple of months. So, I do think, number one, it's easier than anybody really thinks it is. I know. I don't. I mean, I hate to say it. I think people get caught faster because of, due diligence practices and things if they would have done audits, this would have been caught forever ago. That being said, I think honestly, I don't think people initially intend when they start stealing money from their organization. I think they're just I'm just going to take $5 from petty cash because I need lunch. And then it becomes a pattern and it gets out of control. And next thing you know, you're using the company credit card to buy classic car parts. I mean,
So I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, and there's a huge case right now of a guy who stole, I want to say $1.5 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, you would think they would have processes in place. That's an NFL football team. Oh, they came to London. So yes. And this guy has just been going on trips. I mean, he's first class flights. Like, I don't know how they didn't notice. Like, even his social media reflected all these trips and no one was like, well, that's odd. What's Bill doing that he's getting all this money to go here and nobody checked?
Yeah. Maybe it's just meaningless amount of money to them. Maybe they've just got that much that it doesn't even register. Who knows?
My personal favorite, I think, was that the Jaguars then reached out to American Express to not make them pay the charges since it was fraudulent. And I'm sure American Express is like, yeah, okay, please send your check in.
Yeah,
I don't care who charged it. You're paying it.
Funny one. The workplace has seen some pretty big shifts in recent years. Which do you think has had the biggest impact out of generational shifts, COVID, the Great Resignation, quiet quitting, the rise of AI, or any other recent trend that I've missed?
I think it was the most recent. So my knee-jerk was like, well, COVID. But I actually don't think the lingering aspect of it is hanging on as much as millennials like entering the workplace. I think because I am a young Gen Xer, but I am a Gen Xer. And I remember when more and more were coming into the workplace, and like, that's kind of what in employee culture is something we regularly talk about all the time. It's the importance of employee culture, employer culture, culture. What's your culture? I mean, it's probably tattooed on my body somewhere, the word culture. And that was because of them, because initially nobody cared about culture. Come to work, do your job, do it to the bare minimum, clock out, don't work a clock, get out, go home. That was it. And then it was like, no, and God forbid you bring your feelings to work. Like, we don't want to know your feelings. That, like, my first job, it was like, do not ask about mental health ever. Plug your ears, walk away, abort mission. And then it was like, no, see, it's important that I'm a human, not just an employee. And then they started bringing in work-life balance. And then, all these huge aspects that had they not stand up like, yeah, I don't want to be like my parents and just grind it out 9 to 5 every day. I mean, because Americans are like not as bad now, but back, when I first started, we are workaholics. My parents were workaholics. Like, that's why us Gen Xers are basically feral. We were letting ourselves in and cooking for ourselves at like 7 years old because both our parents were working all the time. And, and it was great that they stood up and were like, yeah, I kind of don't want to do that. Now, it also brought in other things because they were also the group that, everybody got a trophy and everybody wins and everybody matters. And so now they don't really like a lot of constructive criticism. So it's very difficult to tell them when they're not doing great. And even our Gen Zers, wow, they really don't like to hear when they're not doing great because everybody thinks they're great at that age. But so I really think that they kind of lit the torch and started to carry it, about what the workplace really needs, and that we are so much more than our jobs, and our families are more important than our jobs and all that stuff with it.
Yeah. So I'm an old millennial. Like, okay. I'm literally like within a year of the company.
What year are you born, may I ask?
You can ask.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah. So when I entered the world of work, I was always in small businesses to start with, but I was usually the only millennial. Yeah. And so I was surrounded by Gen Xers, exactly the mentality you described. Do you know what though? Because it was always like that from when I first started work. It was just normal. So it's been quite interesting from that perspective to see this change over the years of how, like, millennials, my generation, have totally looked at this in a different way. And I was probably late to the party, I think, in realizing it, because I was working with people who were still 1 or 2 generations before me, who were still applying that kind of the 1950s management style and all this stuff that it always felt like it wasn't quite right. But at the same time, that's just the way it was. That's how we do business. Yeah. So it never occurred to me that
there's a difference. I know. Well, it was interesting because, going in, I mean, my mother owned her own business. So that was a little different, but almost my dad, they're both trade workers. They work their butts. They have amazing work ethics, but it was like, do not question authority. Like, your boss tells you what your boss, you better be there on time. Like, heads down, do what you're told to do. And then, so you automatically assume, which is why they also pushed college education, because they were like, if you want to be the boss and not to do whatever, you got to have this, which is sad, because I'm so glad that in the United States we're pushing trades again, because it was like a lot of people who went to college had no business. It was stupid for us to go, all of us. But what I meant was, then it was like, no, just because you're on a management role doesn't mean, number one, you're a good leader, which I loved that came out of it as a result. And number two, it was like, you can question, like, you can say, I don't think this is right, or maybe we should do this. Or just because you've been here 100 years doesn't mean I don't have fresh ideas that you need to consider. So I really appreciate like the millennials pushing that agenda.
Again, kind of walk the line there. I think for the first half of my career, I was exactly that. Don't question the authority. The boss is the boss. They're the one paying you. If you argue, if you rock the boat, they might stop paying you, and you kind of like the money. So just, do that.
I kind of need that money. I need the payback. Right.
Yeah. Looking back now, that makes me cringe, because back then, particularly before the economy fell out again, I could have just walked away and got another job, probably got more pay, and not had to deal with the same mentality. Right. But I didn't. It never even occurred to me to do that.
No, and I remember, so fun fact about me, when I moved to Jacksonville, I moved here for, at the time, someone I felt like I was going to be in a long-term relationship. Luckily, we did not move in together. However, my first job out of college, I had only stayed 9 months at, and to relocate. And then I came here, and within 3 months of being within each other's zip code, we learned we absolutely did not like each other, even as just people, and we broke up immediately. And I'm sitting there 3 months into my new job going, oh my gosh, I have to stay here for at least 3 years, or I'm going to look like a job jumper on my resume, and nobody is going to hire me. They're not going to hire me. I am just going to be, I talk about the scarlet A for the scarlet letter. I'm just going to get the scarlet double J, and I'll have to bear that sign and walk around and be in fast food. And that's where my mentality is, which I struggle with my current clients who still have that mentality that if somebody's not in a job 2 years, then they're not worth it. Pass. And they're making their candidate pool like a puddle. Because people don't look at they look at their jobs like gigs. They don't look at it like a life. They don't see themselves being in one spot for, their whole careers. They see themselves switching careers, like completely doing stuff differently every so often. And we love to relocate in the United States. If we're not tied, we're not attached, by God, on to the next state. Let's see what else is out there. It's like a bunch of gypsies. I love it. But that used to be frowned upon.
Yeah, I mean, the norm these days, especially in the more techie industries, I mean, if you've stayed in a job more than a year, it's almost the opposite now. That will raise the question.
Right. But if you get 1 to 2 years out of a good performer versus having just a, low performer that's not for 5 years, what have you really gained? Like, what have you really gained?
There's a lot to be gained, actually, from swapping jobs frequently, because you're getting exposure to different environments, different skill sets. It's going to make you a better employee, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because my first, when I ended up staying at that job for 10 years, and I ended up, and I mean, I loved it there, or I thought I did, which is hysterical because I'll explain. It was my life. Even at 2 days before, and it was a hospital, so I gave birth to my child in that hospital. But 2 days before, 2 weeks before, I was filling in for security because literally no one showed up at 3 a.m. So I'm waddling around hallways, unlocking doors. And then 2 days before, I mean, I'm waddling around making sure security cameras are where we want them and handling an employee issue. And then I was there the next day giving birth. So, it was just like, to me, they were my family. And then one day I walked in and my job got eliminated and I was devastated. Like, to me, I had the complete misconception that was my family. They would never treat me like that. No. And then I had an awakening, which I've embraced the rest of my career. No. I'm an employee. I'm not a family member. They're an organization. Life will continue exactly. It might look a little different, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't stop just because I'm not there. And I kind of approached my career completely differently and my attachments as a result. So it was and then I realized I also was working way too much and they expected way too much of me. And their culture was very much not a healthy one if you really dissected it.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, about companies that describe themselves as a family. That to me now is a red flag.
Well, I wrote an article about it and did something called Disrupt HR. Like, it's an ick factor. Stop saying that. Yeah. You want to talk about a community culture? That's great. Like, you are accepted, you're inclusive, you're diverse. Fan-freaking-tastic. But the family is like this mafia feel to it. Like, you'll do anything for the family. Yeah. No. That's
a good way of putting it. I like that. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like there's so many different things. First of all, everyone looks at family differently. To some people, family is a source of pain and misfortune. They don't really want their work. Yeah. They don't really want their work to represent that. But I think, certainly in my experience, the people who describe a company as family, it's usually the old male fella in charge. And what he means is, I'm the paternal presence in your life and you'll do as you're told. That's what it usually means in my experience.
Absolutely. It's like, I'm the dad and you are my children. And I'm like, well, I've been to a couple of Thanksgiving tables and I don't want to work at a Thanksgiving table. So.
Yeah. I think the word is problematic, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that leads nicely into the next question, actually. So we've talked about the different generations and some of the differences between them. When it comes to actually effectively engaging those different generations at work and managing a workforce that contains all of them, really, what would you say is the secret to success?
Well, interestingly enough, I love generational discussions just because it's a diversity, inclusion, and equity topic that literally hits everyone. It doesn't matter what demographic you are, you fall into some generation. Saying that, there's also a lot of times where we put people in boxes, but I have to say, from a generation, I do see like I am a tried and true Gen Xer. It's hilarious. Like, I love an email. By God, I'm going to email you. Thank you for sending me an email. Don't make it really long because you'll lose audience because I have ADHD. But I remember my first email I got. I remember my first email password. It's seriously like, but, and it's all about knowing your audience and how to communicate to them. So, my parents are tried and true boomers. And so the thought of them having to go online and book an appointment, like with their doctor or anything else, literally gives them pure anxiety. They just want to call them. They just want to get on the phone with somebody. They hate a phone tree. They don't want to get text messages. They just want a human. And where I'm different is like, dang, if I can go book my own appointment online, heck yeah. I know where I need to be. I can have my calendar up. I can do all the things. And even more, but I will do it the call way if I need to. And then Gen Z, by God, they'll avoid it like the plague. If they have to talk to a human, no. Like, I'm just using this doctor's office analogy because I did this whole research on some doctor's office things. And they would, oh my God, please give me an AI bot. If I have to talk to a human, aside from the doctor and nurse practitioner, I don't want to. Or they're just doing telehealth because they just want to get it over with and be done with it. And millennials, we've got, and it's interesting, we have to use all platforms with our clients because we are an extension of them. So if they have a certain payroll system, we use their payroll system. If they use Monday, we use Monday. If they use Slack, and I have a client, like, they were diehard Slack, which is, I don't know if you guys obviously have Slack too, right? Yeah. So, and it was like, it's messaging, it's all the things. And inevitably I would send an email, and every time I would get a response, can you put that on the Slack channel? I mean, it was just so difficult me just to instantly think like, and then the time you emailed me your response to put it on the Slack channel, you could have just told me, but I know you're trying to get me to use the Slack channel. So it was just, it's just very interested messaging. I think there was research done that average millennial reads their message within 6 minutes of receiving it. So if it's longer than that, they've probably put you on read and dead, and they're not going to respond. So
sounds right to me. Yeah.
I mean, my kids, I don't know if my youngest necessarily qualifies as Gen Z. My oldest is 22, and like both of them though, their phones are an extension of their being. Like my youngest daughter left hers today. She can't even use it in school. She can't even use it. And she's like, oh my God, I left my phone. Mom, can we turn around? I'm like, no, you're going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen. I will let your dad know you don't have your phone. It's just like, he's going to have to drive me by and get it. I just have to have it.
I'm not sure that's a generational thing though. I think
I agree.
It's a technology thing, isn't it? With the phone, like, there's just so much of our life now is on it. That you can't.
The land of instant gratification.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I talk to my employers too, like my old school people people apply to jobs. Well, you better have your job description like 2 swipes, like your job ad, because if it's longer and they got to go on and on and on, you've lost your audience. And if they're sitting in the candidate pool for, days upon end, you've lost your candidates because they want to know instant responses, where they're moving, how fast they're moving. Are they accepted, decline, next. So if you're just letting sit out there, you're losing candidates.
Yeah. Again, I wonder whether that's actually really a change at a material level versus just the method of doing it. Because, I mean, I think back, it's been a while, but the last time I was applying for jobs, the rule of thumb was if your CV is more than 2 pages, don't even bother because they're not going to read it.
Very true.
So, it's just 2 swipes.
It's on both sides.
It's the same principle, isn't it? It's just a different way of reading it, I suppose.
But it's interesting because I think it's more my eyes are going bad, but I love to look at stuff on my desktop and pull it up like full view. Whereas like to use my thumbs to fill out an application, it's like, no, I need like space and keyboard and a desktop. But they say that's a generational thing that, the older you get, the more you like that. Again, I still think it's because my eyes are starting to go in my mid 40s. But, I definitely don't.
Maybe.
Whereas my daughters, they want to do everything on their phone. Very rarely do they ask to use, get on the computer or anything.
It depends on the thing, I think. And I mean, going back to what you're saying as well about booking appointments online versus phoning people up, I think I can sympathize with all of these points of view, really. Like, I love email. I was in the workplace when it became a thing. Yeah. It's great. And I think there's a lot to be said for being able to just send something that's a bit more formal, isn't there, versus just a text message. Slack and Teams and all of that stuff. Yeah, great tools, but can you put it on Slack? Yeah, I've heard that before as well. Yes. It's when the technology drives the process. That's where I think things go wrong. It should be the other way around, shouldn't it? I mean, can't you just email to a Slack channel when it goes in there anyway?
Well, even in your messaging, like my kids, I used grammar in my messaging, like period and capitals and full words and like my youngest was like, I think Dad's mad at me. And I was like, why? And she's like, well, he said, okay, good, but with a period after it. I was like, well, I'm going to tell you, Dad's not mad at you. Usually if he is, he just sends an emoji thumbs up. So I was like, he's just using good grammar, honey. But then I went and read, and there's this whole thing that they find a period's passive aggressive and abrupt in messaging. Like it's unnecessary. You don't need to do it. And I'm like, I get anxiety not using periods and exclamation point. And like they're judging like how many exclamation points you use. And if, I know I am one who is like, if you're capsing a word, you're yelling it. Like, don't yell at me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. I got in an argument with my fiance about that the other day. He caps one word. I'm like, why are you yelling?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah, but that was the only word you capped. So it was intentional. He's like, I'm sure it was an accident. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Don't lie. I'm not stupid. You're yelling. It's fine. But
yeah. No, I'm with you on the grammar one as well, but I feel like that's because of, maybe it is a generational thing, but maybe it's the same for you. But for me, it's because my first boss was like so picky about grammar to the point that he would proofread every email before anyone could send it, just to make sure we got the comma in the right place and stupid stuff like that. Whereas now I would never do that because it doesn't really matter. Nobody's that bothered.
But it's also me showing where my thought kind of starts and ends. Like, this is my thought, period. On to the next, period. But I'm also apparently, and my oldest daughter pointed this out, she's like, you are the person who sends a message, but it's not ever a long thing. It's like message, next, message, next, message. She's like, there'll be 18 bubbles. I was like, because those are separate thoughts. That's how I think. And she's like, well, you could just include it in one text. Like, but that looks like a novel. You're not going to want to read that. She's like, I don't want to read your 18 bubbles either. I was like, okay.
There's no way to win there, is there? So here's another thought for you. Remember when we were a bit younger and there were those people who used to say the handwritten word is the thing, like that. There's just something about it. It's just proper and better. I think we're now those people, but for typing on a keyboard. Right.
Absolutely. I mean, there are kids who can't read cursive.
Yeah, that's just upsetting. I mean, there's entire schools in this country now where they don't teach them handwriting. They just give them laptops.
Right.
Or iPads now, I suppose.
Oh, no. I mean, all our kids here are on Chromebooks. All of them. I have seen, and I'm going to give her, like, again, a little bit of leeway because she's left-handed and they do write differently. But my youngest, again, almost 15, her handwriting, if she sees this, she's going to be real upset. But anyway, it's hard. It's just, but she doesn't have to write anything. She types.
It can't be any worse than mine.
I have to tell my mother, please stop writing her birthday cards in cursive. She can't read it.
Yeah.
And this is a child that reads so much. She like books, 3 and 4 books a week. Like, she's an avid reader. It's like her favorite thing to do. So it's not like, I just don't like to read. She literally, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not print. I don't know what this is.
Yeah. But then, I mean, the counter argument to that is why do we need to? Nobody's really using it anymore, are they? What's the point?
So pretty, David.
It is if it's done well, but how often do you see it done well? I mean, certainly not in any note I've ever written.
I know. It is. It's so pretty. I love it. Like a signature. Like, you need a true signature.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you on that. That's just the way the world works, isn't it? Things change.
At a rapid pace.
And it is getting faster, definitely.
It's getting crazy. Like, as soon as we're learning something, it's changing and we are up to learning something else.
I kind of like that, though. It's exciting.
I mean, I love the variety, but it's no wonder that we're all ADHD. It's like, ooh, what? Squirrel, next. Okay. You know, I'm literally the person that hands writes a check sheet of things I need to accomplish every day. And I actually like the little check. Like, I love to give myself a check.
Nice. Yeah, me too. In fact, I've got a whiteboard right next to me. And that's what I use it for.
I love it. Yeah, I've had my office now for over a year because we moved into this house. It is not kosher for a background. Like, it's the most boring blank wall and there's a treadmill like right here. So
nice.
Yeah, I need to actually make it my office. I spend the most time in it and I still have not done anything with it.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little project sometimes, isn't it?
It is. I need to do this.
Look forward to. Yeah. Okay, let's talk a bit more about leadership then. I mean, we've covered the red flags already, I think.
For sure.
What would you say then is the biggest leadership lesson that you've learned in your career so far?
2 things. Not everybody is cut out for it. And it's okay to say, I don't want to do it. Like, I feel like when people are asked to step in the role, they feel honored because somebody has looked at them in that light. But maybe it's just not something I want to do. And I feel like it's okay to say, yeah, I don't want to do that. Because what you do need to realize, and I tell my clients this all the time, leadership is lonely. The further up you get, the lonelier it gets, because you can't have the connections you think you want to have anymore. You can't be, you can be professional and acquaintances, but those friendships are really hard to maintain once you're a true leader, in an actual organizational structure. So I don't think, and it gets really isolating. And so you really need to make connections outside of the org and people in like roles, so you can share your experiences and have that support there. But relying on team members, it's probably not going to work out.
It's quite a difficult one though, isn't it? Because quite often the path to a pay rise means leadership. So if you want the pay rise, you can't say no, really.
Right.
I think that's why so many people get stuck in a job they probably don't really want to do.
I 1,000% agree with that. I will say this, unless I really, really financially have to, kind of same concept. Not that I can't be a leader. I like consulting much better. It's just, I will advise you and then I walk away and I don't have to deal with the app. And I'm going to help you be a leader, and I get to lift you up and see that impact from a third party stance, which I love. But managing my own team again, I don't know if I'd ever want to do it again. And I've done very large teams, and it's like, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does come with its own set of stresses, doesn't it?
It is. So many people relying on you and guiding you and dealing with the different personalities and reading the audience and changing your message and all the things. But still having to do a job on top of it, it's exhausting. It's just a lot. It's a lot of people. Mm-hmm.
At least it is if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
I think those leaders out there who are just stress-free and happy all the time, I'm hugely suspicious of.
Right. I think they want that it's my way or the highway, and I'm comfortable with that, which means they're not doing their job effectively.
Yeah, or they're just not doing their job.
Or they just don't care. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the solution is then for people who want to be moving up in terms of pay scale, but they can't or don't want to be leaders?
I mean, I think they look at what they do want to do that are hot, whether it be career change, career oriented, you find it, because a lot of times if you're in a special niche of some sort, like that not everybody can do, you can elevate your career that way and not have to do leadership. There's so many consultative things. There's so many analytical things that it doesn't necessarily require you to be a director or manager. And, I think people have to, again, I feel like I'm in the area of my career that if I don't like what I'm doing or I'm working for, I could find something else. But not everybody is in that area of their career. And I'm very blessed in that sense. But also keeping an eye out, networking, seeing what else is out there, that you're not just locked in. And sometimes money isn't everything. I will tell you that much. I left a big leadership position and passed on an even bigger one to take a different role that just provided me with flexibility and peace of mind. And it was literally the best decision, because after I had some downtime, got through some personal things, picked up where I left off and, on to the next. But I needed that less stress gap.
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday about the whole money doesn't buy happiness thing.
Right.
And it's like, no, it doesn't, but it does kind of help sometimes.
It does. I mean, it's necessary. It does fluff it a lot. And to feel valued comes with compensation. I don't care who you are. I can't, I had an instance, and I've had clients do this, and it's like, I try to tell them all the time, do not wait till your most valued person is about to leave and then throw them money at that point when they've already asked for it, because that is insulting.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen to me. I was like, oh, for a whole year, I've been talking about this and you've been promising and putting me off. And now your feet are to the fire and suddenly you have it. No, you won't.
Yes. Too little, too late.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, there's a definite lesson there. Absolutely. And so what would you say has been your best experience of being led? You don't have to name names, but if you want to.
No. I have honestly been very blessed I can really only think of one quote unquote bad boss I've had. But since I've been, but let me tell you, that wasn't true. That one, he wasn't so great, but he wasn't horrible, because he just kind of let me do my own thing, but in the interaction. But one was just horrible. And I think all of them recognized where I elevated them and my potential and like fed it. It was like they saw a lot in me and they would just feed those aspects of me and kind of like, fly, little bird, fly. My current president, Julie, she's amazing. And it would be really hard because when in her role, your team may not be as tenured as you, but they've all had high level position. They've all done high level HR. They've all done we all done very like what she's doing. So to lead that when we've all been leaders, she's pretty awesome. And then that we all still want to and we're all buying into it because she's amazing. She's really good. And she definitely identifies what we're great at and lets us go with it. And she's kind of put us in our roles specific to what we all excel at. And it's done great. So anybody who can identify that is a great leader as far as I'm concerned.
It's often, I think, the biggest challenge of leadership, isn't it? Is being okay with and then being good at leading people who know way more than you do or have done your job.
Yeah, that's the best part. It's like, it's awakening when you know that, someone could step in and do your role and you still are like, oh no, but you do this way better than I ever could. Please take that on. And she does. She's amazing at it. She really is. And she's like, I'm focusing on this. I need y'all heads down focusing on that. Like whether, I'm on the growing the business side, Kelly's on, Danielle handles most of our nonprofits and Kelly's just killing it with our large client base. Like she's just amazing at it. And it's like, she recognizes all what we're fantastic at and just wants, and just like I said, keeps feeding that beast. Y'all do this. Y'all do it. Y'all create it. You find a better way to do it. Let me know. I trust your judgment.
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
Yeah. And she's open to conversations when we don't necessarily agree, which I think is really important. Like now, am I going to blast it on a department call? No, probably not. But privately, I'm like, hey, can I pick your brain and tell her my idea or my reason why I don't think we should do something? She's always open to it. And she never makes you feel like, why are you asking this? Look at the, look at the title. She's never made me feel that way.
Yeah. Again, another very difficult thing to do well.
Right.
You could go back in time. How far back would you go in your own lifetime? And what would you say to your younger self?
I would teach myself the spotlight effect early on. Mm-hmm. And that is that what I think everybody noticed about me or a mistake I made or, or did I talk too much at a party? Did I say something wrong? Did I, all that after moments worrying of all the things, I would tell myself, 9 times probably out of 10, no one even thought of it. Like I use that thought process because my mom will ask me, oh my God, I don't know how you get in front of these people and just talk. And you don't ever really get nervous. I said, the only time I get nervous if I don't know the content's new to me. But at the end of the day, a lot of it is fake it till you make it. And people don't know what they don't know. And if you just, it's kind of like walk with purpose. Like if you're in a crowd and you need to get into something, then it might not be where you're supposed to be. If you walk with purpose, 9 times out of 10 people aren't going to ask you any questions because you're confident in your approach. So I was wasted too much time worrying about what I thought other people were thinking about me. And they absolutely probably won't.
I think there's a good lesson there for anyone in their youth, isn't there? Yeah, I think we've all done that. It's tied up in those things, doesn't it? Like the confidence and imposter syndrome and fake it till you make it. I have a mixed feelings about that as a concept.
Well, I mean, within being authentic, I think that's important. You still have to be authentic, not like you're throwing up some falsehoods. I don't believe in that. Like, don't lie, don't make up data, no fake news, but more so in your approach. Like, I do know the content. If I stumble over it or say a word, they probably just didn't even notice,
Yeah, I mean, it's like learn by doing as well. Again, mixed feelings about that one. Sometimes you haven't got a choice. That's just how you have to do it, or it's just not gonna. You won't get the lesson out of it otherwise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when it comes to things like leadership, I do feel like, learn from other people
for sure,
and don't try and fake it because it will blow up.
Well, you'll get called out real quick too. Like people know when you don't know, especially if it's something they've done and they've done and you're going to try. No, you're going to get called out for that. And then and people are going to lose trust. That's the thing. It's a definite balance. You start giving mixed messages or talking outside of your mouth, they're going to lose trust with you real quick.
Leadership Heroes.
Okay, last question. My favourite one.
Okay.
It's called Leadership Heroes.
Okay.
So if you had to pick one person, and it could be anyone you like, they could be alive or dead, past or present, real or fictional, who in your opinion would perfectly embody leadership, who would that person be and why?
I don't know if she necessarily embodies perfect leadership, but I just love her leadership style. And it's Tina Fey. I know it's I'm probably sure no one would guess that. I have followed her since her SNL, Saturday Night Live days. She is just authentically herself. She is huge about don't micromanage. If people know what they're doing, lift them up and let them do what they're doing, and they'll help you shine in the process. She's hilarious, and I love funny. I just love people who are funny and classy about how funny they are. She's very much about women and lifting up women. She's had a lot of adversity and come through it. She kind of rose to the challenge later in life. It wasn't like she was handed some great life and, instantly. She's taken her quirkiness and owned it. And I think she's kind of amazing.
Not one we've had before as well. So
yeah, I know.
Points. Well done. Yeah.
If you read her biography, Bossy Pants, you'll see there's just some really, and you wouldn't read it as, oh, this is a leadership book, but I took it as one just because of how, she progressed and different quotes out of it. And it really embodies what I think leadership should be, because she's so authentic. And I think that's important.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah. One of my favourite episodes of 30 Rock actually was the one about when Alec Baldwin's character starts going through his Sigma 6 thing. And that whole kind of tongue-in-cheek Mickey take of management training. That
right.
made me. I identified with that.
Right. I mean, even kind of her role in 30 Rock, like the character she plays. Yeah. And Alec Baldwin's like the cliche corporate guy. Yep. And how she, maneuvers that and deals with that. So, I mean, there's some legitimacy to what role she's playing. She's identifying it to somebody. But I like the fact that she, lifts other people up and brings people along, and she encourages other people's growth, and she invests her time in making other people better, which is, again, what she does. She's so positive, and she just doesn't believe in, don't get sucked into negativity. People waste too much time, just getting sucked down a rabbit hole of, this is an obstacle and I'm just going to sit on my rear end and not do anything. It's rise above it and figure out a way. So yeah, I like that.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, thank you. Well, I think that's pretty much all we've got time for. Thank you so much, Katie. It's been great talking with you. The last thing I will ask you is, if any of the listeners want to learn more about you or what you do, where can they go to find out more? So
you can email me at Katie. And that's Katie with an IE, KATIE.Howard, HOWARD, at J as in Jack, M as in Matthew, C as in cat, O as in octopus, JMCO.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, and I just Katie Howard, PHR, one word. So that's how you can find me on LinkedIn.
Lovely. Well, I'll put copies of those links in the show notes anyway, so people can find it easily.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, thank you again so much. It's been great meeting you.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had a great time.
Well, me too. Yeah, it was a great conversation. And have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Katie, thank you so much again for your time and for sharing those stories and your insights. And that experience that you have in HR, particularly in the markets that you've worked in, is really interesting. Lots of great insights there for any leader or anyone who's aspiring to get into HR themselves as well. Listeners, if you would like to learn more about Katie and what she does, I have popped the relevant links in the episode description, in the show notes, so you can find that easily. And I do encourage you, do reach out to every guest we have on the show, at least visit their website and learn more about them, because there's so much more that all of them have to offer than what we've managed to condense into a 1-hour conversation on this podcast, much as I do enjoy those. If you are a new leader, if you are a first-time founder of your own company even, leadership can be a lonely place, as we've talked about already today. And you do just need sometimes that sounding board, that friendly ear who will listen, who will offer an opinion and perhaps a different point of view and can help you work that problem in a way there's far lower stakes, less risk, less potential for difficulty than if you had to discuss it with someone at work, which sometimes leaders need that. Every leader needs that kind of sympathetic ear sometimes. I know I certainly have many times over the years. So I'm very keen to give leaders like you a platform where you can access those friendly ears, people who are at a similar stage of their career, who are going through similar challenges, and perhaps you can be a friendly ear to one of them as well. So that platform that I have created, it is a community, it is online, it is called Integrity Leaders. You get access to loads of leadership resources. We have regular sessions where we talk about a particular facet of leadership. There's plenty of other resources on there as well. And of course, the opportunity to meet and get to know other leaders and learn from each other as well. If you want to learn more, visit www.leadernotaboss.com. Sign up for the newsletter and you will also get an invitation for a 60-day free trial of the community. At the end of that 60 days, you can either join and become a paying subscriber, or there is also a free forever option. And that's really all I've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening. Every listen, every star, every review is seen and appreciated. This podcast only continues because of the support from all of you listeners. So thank you so much for that. I hope you'll join me again next week. And in the meantime, it is lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. So come and join us at Integrity Leaders. And remember, as always, be a leader, not a boss.